Great. I am, as I hope that many of you in this room are, a feminist. The word feminism is quite scary in today's world. It's controversial. And it is controversial because feminism actually changes countries, changes societies, and are challenging the structures we are living in. But sometimes I don't really understand why it's so controversial. For me, it's quite easy. Feminism is about equal rights for every individual. Feminism is standing up for every human being to be free of violence and gender and sexual harassment or sexual assault. Feminism for me is to treat everybody, men and women, as from what they are doing and not as they're representing a sex. Not categorize people, see people as people. And if you look at feminism that way, it's not so controversial, and it shouldn't be so controversial. But in today's world, it is controversial. And in today's world, it's an extremely important and good tool to try to work for change. Let me first start by saying that feminism has a basic idea that women's rights are human rights, and that human rights are women's rights. I could stop there, and then we could try to go out and argue with everybody we meet and say, you must realize that women's rights are human rights and vice versa. But I think we need more arguments. And we also need the argument that is true, that gender equality is actually creating a better world. Look around the globe. The countries with more of gender equality are richer and more prosperous than the countries with less of gender equality. I had the great honor the other night to host Yemeni women peace activists that had taken the very dangerous travel from different parts of Yemen to Amman and came home to us that day. We know that if we put these women at the negotiation tables, because they're not there for the moment, we will have a better opportunity, a better chance of creating a sustaining peace. We actually know also that gender equality are creating, at least from the Swedish experience, better families. Because if you have a present mother and a father, you will have more stable families than in families with less of gender equality, which means it's also about the future of the kids in a society. It might sound like a conservative argument. Sometimes many people attacking feminists think that feminists are against families, but it's actually creating better families if you have more of gender equality. Feminism is, as I mentioned, we create more rich societies if we have more of gender equality. It's smart economics. It's an argument that works, actually. The people that stop listening when I start speaking about feminism usually start to listen when I speak about economics. We say sometimes that cash is king, but actually cash is queen. Look at the Swedish journey. I will say some words about it. Sometimes you think, especially in the Arab world, that if women goes out into the labor market and start working, they are taking men's jobs. The Swedish experience is quite the opposite. Today, 78% of the women in Sweden are participating in the labor market. And 82% of the men are participating in the same labor market, which is actually world record high for the moment. That was helping out Jostra. Thank you so much. But even with that difference of 4%, the cost for Sweden of not having equal participation on the labor market is 4.5 billion JD. 4.5 billion JD. I don't have the numbers for Jordan. I don't have the numbers for this region. But think about what would happen if we have women in the labor market in Jordan when it comes to economics. Think about what it creates when you have a society with extremely well-educated housewives in this country, which is good, because knowledge is good. But it's really throwing good money in the lake or in the ocean if you are educated and not coming out to the labor market. Cash is queen also because the most important thing, I would say, when it comes to creating equal participation and power in society is to have their own salary to pay the bill with. When women takes the step out in the labor market, that creates the independence. And I was asked to say something about the Swedish experience, and I will. But I will also underline one thing. It's quite important when you come from Sweden that you're not going around the world and say, why don't you do it like we do it in Sweden, you know? Go on parental leave for 6 months. Yeah, it's quite easy for me because I got 90% of the salary when I was on parental leave. So we don't really have this kind of welfare system in place. But the journey Sweden made can be made by other countries. And it wasn't made by one decision. It was a process. Kindergarten. Have the possibility to have good care of your children even if you went to work. Elderly care. So women could go to work instead of taking care of their elders. Tax systems that created individual taxation was crucial in Sweden because it made it profitable for women to go out in the labor market. So it's a series of reforms we had at the same time that created this over decades. I would say the last century more or less has been a struggle in Sweden for more of gender equality. We are not, having enough. We still have gender equality challenges, but we have done quite a lot. And if you think about these reforms, I would say that the most important thing that was created in Sweden was that it was possible to be a good mother and at the same time having a job. Because when people started to believe and think that kindergarten was a good thing for kids, then it was okay for the women to take the step out in the labor market. I would have loved to say that from the beginning it was also being a good father to have the kindergarten, but that wasn't true because the father was already in the labor market. From my perspective, I just been a little bit more than a year in Jordan. This is the greatest challenge. Being able to be a good mother and at the same time having a job. You spoke of this plumbers. It's a terrific television episode about them, but quite scary as well. When they interviewed the daughter of one of the plumbers, and she is saying, I didn't really want my mother to have this profession because she should stay at home. But the mother took the step into the labor market and is now the role model for the daughter that is also thinking about going in and working for the company, which is amazing. But of course, it was a lot of challenge taking that first step. What I'm saying is it's not possible to translate exactly from one country to another. But I will also underline one other important thing. Standing up for women's rights and feminism isn't imperialism. Because sometimes it's attacked as the Swedish people or the French people, or not always the French people, but okay, the Canadian people and others standing up for women's rights. And that's true. But it is about people all around the world and their human rights. And I will never accept saying that, we shouldn't try to influence the possibility of women to get into the labor market because that's a Swedish value. No, that's not a Swedish value, it's a universal value. I will never accept that we say that it's in some cultures it's okay with gender-based violence. It's not. It's against human rights. But of course, what we need, and that's important, that is to understand a society that we are working in as an international community. And what Sweden are trying to do with our feminist foreign policy is to every day when we go to work, have our gender equality glasses on, but to support partners that are taking the struggles. Some of our partners are in this room. And I promise you, if you stand up for gender equality, we will be with you every step of the way, but you define the struggle. I promise that we will try to find more partners because it must be built in the society of Jordan and in this region. We can't implement it on people, but we can strengthen really good people in the countries. One of my strongest moments since I came to Jordan was when I was speaking in East Amman at the school. It was 11th graders, only girls in the class. And I asked them to get the conversation going. Can a woman in this country have every job. What are you dreaming of? Half of the class was saying, no, it's not really possible to have every job because you need to take care of the kids. And then I asked them, don't the kids have a father? It didn't work in this class, I could say. They looked at me as I was from the moon because the mother needed to be at home. But half of the class were actually answering, yes, I think that I should have the same possibility in the labor market as anyone else. And I asked them, what do you want to do? And they answered things like, I want to be a lawyer. I want to be a doctor. Somebody even say I want to be an ambassador, but it was just to be nice to me. And a little bit, the feminist foreign policy for me, the Sweden is standing for, is to help these girls fulfill their dreams. They have the right to do it. It's not imperialist to say that if you study hard, if you try to do something, you can be successful. Because sometimes when I watch television or when I read a newspaper, I get the impression that we live in a world where we say that men are more intelligent than women. You can get that impression if you watch TV. I don't think it's true. But you get the impression because if you watch TV, you see at all important meetings, it's dominated by men. And that's fair if men are more intelligent than women. But if you have the same conviction as me, that men and women are fairly equally intelligent, you have dumb women, you have smart women, you have dumb men, you have smart men, then we are losing so much talent. When these women that I met, I know that some of them in 3-4 years will be married and have kids, and they're not going to be part of the labor market. We lost their dreams if we're not standing up for this together. And we can do it every time, in every sector, and to just end up in water. Isabel has pointed out, it's about water. It's about climate energy. It's about seeing that if you not have clean water, it's the young girls that are not going to go to school. If you not have clean waters, it's the mothers that are not have the possibility to work because they're fetching water instead. And that is a way of have feminist foreign policy. And I'm so grateful that so many came here today. And I hope that even if you're not feminist, think about you want to live in a rich country, you want to live in a rich society, then it's quite a smart idea to stand up for gender equality. Thank you for listening.